Well, moving on to my personal favorite team, of course, Force India, with my two favorite drivers of Sergio Perez and Nico Hulkenberg.
Your twin.
Yeah, my favorite driver and my F1 twin, sort of. If Nico Hulkenberg would just grow a beard, um, then we would
Extra
absolutely be
weight, not
twinsies.
doing that.
No, no, yeah. Well, I always said, if that was the case, I would just tell my engineers, look, I'll shave my head to keep the beard. Does that work? Does that a fair trade-off?
Oh, bold you. That's weird. That's a
Yeah,
weird thought.
yeah. I don't know if I have the skull shape to pull it off, but
Make a video.
God,
Justin shaves his head.
please,
I would watch that.
dear God, no. The first thing though that I think is worth talking about for Force India, and I know this is going to be a talking point for you, Alex, is the livery. I think it's one of the best liveries around in
You're also
recent years.
incredibly biased based on
Yes,
what you just said.
it's true. It's true. But also, I'm comparing it to previous year liveries. I really didn't like the whole white, orange, and green thing that they were doing for the longest time. I did like when they brought in more black for 2014.
Yeah, I like
But
that.
I mean, even when I see the 2014 livery side by side with the 2015 livery, for me it's no comparison. The new one is just so much better.
The primary complaints about liveries this year have been they're too bland, they're too silver. They've added silver.
Too silver.
They've
Too
added silver.
Yeah, I do agree with that. There's too many teams going the sort of same route in
They're going.
in,
They've
in
started on that
design.
path because they've added silver. That is not a good thing. Add some
Yeah.
purple in there. Get some pink on the go. Get something interested in there. Not silver. Jesus.
Well, I'm not sure pink would work with orange. That might be clashing a little
Stand
bit.
out. Lime
I don't
green.
know. I'm not a design person, but I really like it though, as a standalone thing. But yeah, I totally understand. Once it gets on the grid, it's just gonna kind of blend in with the Mercedes and the McLaren and the other cars that are silver and stuff. It's not gonna be as noticeable. When you're watching a race from the helicopter view, or from one of those way high up ones. I mean, I can absolutely see people going, is that a McLaren? Is that a Force India? I can't even tell what it is because things are starting to look a little bit too similar.
I think Force India is good because their livery is good, but just adding the silver to me it doesn't work. Like the silver looks wrong. It just doesn't seem to quite fit. I'm just trying to find a picture of it now, and I think it's probably the worst F1 livery next to Sauber. Sauber's probably the worst.
Yeah, I think it's the best one so far anyway. I mean, like Ferrari's livery. I mean, that's not even really a livery. It's just they use the same shade of red every year, so there's really not much that they can do. For example, McLaren obviously they're going to be coming out with a new livery though. Actually, the livery they were using in Jerez was not the one that they're going to be racing with, according to them. And apparently, actually, I don't know if you saw. I think it was Areva that tweeted that they've already got a website set up for the new livery launch. And you can actually go to that website right now. It doesn't have anything on it yet, but they're already planning the new livery launch and everything. So hopefully McLaren will kind of, go back to the old McLaren orange or something. They'll do something a little bit different, and maybe that'll actually help the Force India livery to stand out a little bit more.
But just go back. I've just got a picture of it now. It's just I don't know. Just the silver doesn't. It just doesn't really work on black and orange. Like the green was better, and they've pretty much got rid of the green now, and it's just silver instead. It's just meh. It's just nothing. It's just not special. I don't think it's like I say, I did like it last year when it was black, green, orange. I think it was, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't like the insertion of silver. It's just a bit pointless in my eyes.
Well,
The ovals are quite
I'm
nice.
curious about. Yeah, I'm curious about if the teams even look at. I mean, nowadays there are so many guys on the internet doing special liveries just on Photoshop. I'm curious if the teams are actually interested in those. I mean, we can almost see them like every week. Someone's come up with something like a tribute to McLaren Honda or something.
Yeah,
Some
these fan liveries.
yeah, and I'm curious. I mean, looking at the Force India, I'm just thinking, like, could they? There was so much more that they can do with it, and like that seems kind of a really safe
Yeah,
kind of option.
To
going
me,
with
that's
silver.
kind of like saying, I wonder if the designers listen to fan ideas for a new front wing. Like, there's no reason
Not
for them
quite
to
the
look.
same. I mean, there's
Like,
no performance change
no,
from a paint scheme.
Oh yeah, sure. But if you're a professional designer, you're getting paid, I don't know, what, 30, 40k a year, whatever they get, quite a lot. Why would you look on the internet for ideas? You're getting paid a lot of money to design this F1 car. There's no reason for them to look that way. Equally, when you're close to that designer, when you're paying the guy this much, you think, yeah, I'm paying you to do a design. You can do me a nice design, sort of thing. But equally, having said that, I did tweet it. I do want to see fan design car and taking on ideas, because like I said, there is so many beautiful liveries out there that fans like. You think that's so much better than the real livery. And granted, there is Team Metmar said there's obviously certain reasons that they can't do certain colours. Hence the Sauber being this colour. For Ferraris, they're known as red, so that's always be red. That sort of thing. There is restrictions, and mainly based on sponsors. But equally, you could say, look, we need it to be these colours. Go build it, and then once they built it, then the team adds the sponsors, wherever they want them, because obviously that would be obviously a vital factor that a fan just couldn't design. But I do want them to do that. But like I say, it's a bit of a weird one in that they're paying designers to do it, and you would assume the designers do a better job. But apparently they don't.
No, not all the time anyway. Moving on to I guess we should kind of talk. I haven't been following this as much as I should, especially as a Force India fan. But obviously, there's been talks about Force India's financial struggles with them missing the first test in Jerez, and then also they're going to be using their 2014 car at the first test in Barcelona. It's not going to be until the second test in Barcelona that we're seeing the 2015 spec Force India running.
I mean, Force India are similar to Caterham in that they've got a billionaire owner, but I'm pretty sure he's worth a few billion more than Tony Fernandez was. There is a difference there, and they've got more sponsors as well. But like, I don't think that's a financial thing. I don't think. I mean, it'll come into it because they won't have paid. There'll be certain suppliers that they've kind of delayed payment on, but then that happens in every walk of life. No one likes to pay a bill instantly unless you've got ridiculous amounts of money. So it's not unique to that team. Someone like Mercedes would, purely because they have got ridiculous amounts of money and they want to be the top priority for their suppliers, sort of thing. And that will make a difference for them. But most of the midfield teams won't pay instantly and all that sort of thing. So it doesn't. I don't think it's a financial thing with them. I think with Vijay Mallya, I don't think he's getting bored just yet, but I think he's going the way of Tony Fernandez and starting thinking, do you know what, I'm getting a bit bored of this. But he's got a lot more to look at, hasn't he? He gets much better results than the Caterham ever got.
Yep.
So I think we're another few years off that, but I do think he's getting there. But no, I don't think they're struggling financially. I think it's just a case of their car was quite late. Yes, the suppliers delayed them a bit purely because someone like Mercedes, they've already paid. They pay twice the amount that Force India does. You're going to concentrate on Mercedes, not Force India's car as a supplier. So I don't think there's anything really to the rumours. I mean, look at the amount of sponsors they've got. They're not really struggling.
More than ever, I think.
Exactly. So I don't think they're in financial troubles at all. I think Vijay Mallya is perhaps starting to think about selling the team, but I think he's still in it for another few years yet. So I don't think there's any worries. It's just a case of the design being quite late, then the suppliers messing about a bit and stuff, and various other probably manufacturing delays, and it's just a case of that. It's not a big deal really.
Yeah. I'm pretty confident that was just a lot of hearsay. A lot of people just speculating based on them missing the tests and stuff like that. A lot of people are just kind of having some assumptions based on that information. Because it seems like they're in fact more financially stable than just about ever. I do agree actually with missing the Jerez test because really there's not a lot to learn there. There is stuff to learn, but it's just such a different track versus anything else. But and then running the 2014 car at the first Barcelona test, that'll at least give them. I think they can at least run the new spec front wing on the 2014 car, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they can gather some information about that and also about the tires, the new Pirelli compounds and stuff. Historically, though, Force India has been a team to kind of throw all their eggs in one basket at the very beginning of the season and then just basically completely neglect the car throughout the rest of the season. And I think they're going the opposite route with this season.
I think that's only the last 2 seasons. They did it in 2013 because they had such a good car. So they thought, do you know what, this car is amazing. We're going to easily finish where we want to with the constructors. Let's start the 2014 car already. Then the rules got changed and they got screwed over. The tyres changed, and then the FRIC the hydraulic suspension rule changed, so they got a bit screwed over that year. Last year they had not a terrible car, but not a great car. So that they kind of thought, you know what, we've learned our lessons now. Let's start on a 2015 car. So I think that's only been 2 seasons. I don't think that's a consistent thing. I think that's just happened to be in the last 2 seasons.
Well, just to move on to the drivers, I do think we're going to see sort of the same sort of thing that we saw last year, where Hulkenberg has the consistency, whereas Perez has the brief moments of brilliance. Obviously, Perez got his 4th podium last season with a second team. He got 3 at Sauber. Hulkenberg still has not scored a single podium, which is unbelievable when you really think about that fact. It is unbelievable that Nico Hulkenberg has not once been on the podium. It really is fantastic to even imagine that, because I mean he's a fantastic driver. I would rate him above Sergio, but I've said this plenty before, so I'm not going to linger on it. But I do prefer a driver that is kind of up and down versus somebody who's just consistently good. Because that's way less exciting. Who wants to? Yay, another 5th. I would much rather Sergio crash trying to win a race, than to just constantly get the same position over and over.
The team wouldn't.
Right, exactly. The team wouldn't. So I mean, hopefully, and I gotta imagine that's his focus is consistency. But I can't really imagine Perez outscoring at the end of the season. I can't really imagine him having more points than Hulkenberg.
I think Hulkenberg needs to buck his ideas up this year, because he's been really impressive last year. I feel like half through last season he got a bit down, and he was a bit like, you know what?
He did.
I'm in an average car. There's been so many seasons that have shown brilliance, and I've not been picked up. There's no. I'm not even talking to big teams anymore. There's no, there's no seat on the horizon, and I felt like it kind of all got on top of him, and he just wasn't performing. He was, he'd already proven his point, so he'd given up on trying to prove his point. That's what I felt like kind of happened last season.
Here's a question to both of you: if this is Button's last season, do you think McLaren would consider taking Hulkenberg over bringing back Magnussen?
I think they've probably still, if they keep Alonso for another year, which they probably will, and then I would see either Magnussen or Van Dorn getting the McLaren seat.
Okay, so you don't think Hulkenberg has a shot at McLaren? Because I mean,
No.
Well, what about Ferrari if Kimi leaves?
I think the Ferraris probably got their own thing going. I think, well, we already know that Hulkenberg almost got the seat for 2014, I think, before Kimi signed the deal. But yeah, it's kind of, I don't really see. Yeah, he was really anonymous, Hulkenberg. He was really anonymous for 2014, and he, like, even Sergio got those couple of flashes of glory. Like in Bahrain and stuff like that, but Hulkenberg was really just. I don't know if I know that the car had inherent problems with. I think it was windy conditions.
Yep. Wind, yeah.
It was struggling with wind, and yeah. Well, if the car is better this year, then probably he is gonna be consistent. But if he really doesn't shine this year, then I don't really see him going up the ranks.
What about you, Alex? Do you see him going anywhere?
I pretty much agree with what Miko said. I think no to McLaren. I was surprised they took Perez, not him, a few years ago. But I
think a lot of people were.
Yeah, but I think like Miko said, I think they've what's he called? Van Dorn is the next in line really at McLaren if they're going to take a new driver, or someone other than a real top line driver. And I mean in terms of that, like world champions and things. I think with Ferrari, if Raikkonen was interested, they would have signed him last year. But because Raikkonen to a team like Ferrari, it's important to have world championships. It's important to have world-class drivers. Even though he is a world-class driver, he's not a proven world-class driver. So that isn't, Ferrari signs Hulkenberg. That's great for us lot, but for your average Ferrari fan who just likes the Ferrari cars, that doesn't mean anything. Ferrari signs world champion Kimi Raikkonen, that means something.
Right.
So
or even Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, well, very much so, Sebastian Vettel. That's exactly why they signed him. Well, that's not why, but you know what I mean. That was a consideration. So, for that reason, I don't think Ferrari will sign him unless they basically run out of top line drivers to be able to sign. Mercedes, I mean, they've got a pick of the bunch. Why would they sign Hulkenberg where they can have Alonso? They can have anyone they want.
Yep.
and then Red Bull have got their own young driver program. So that's all 4 teams sealed up. So what can he do? It's a really difficult one. And obviously McLaren have got the young driver program, which is when Van Dorn comes in. So wasn't he part of the Ferrari young driver program? Am I right in saying that? Have I just made
Hulkenberg?
that up? Yeah.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I know he's had ties with Ferrari in the past.
Yeah, maybe it was just that.
Yeah, but I'm not so sure he was an actual like Ferrari young driver.
Okay, yeah, like I say, unless something weird happens, I just can't see. Unfortunately for him, because he's so amazing, I want to see him in a big car.
It's really unfortunate.
Can't see it happening.
It was kind of like back in the day. If you think about the Ferrari situation, it was like back in the day. If you had, like now you have Kimi and you have Vettel, it was like back in the day when you have McLaren and you had Senna and Prost, and then they switched to Senna and Berger. Like Hulkenberg would be there, like kind of a safe driver who wouldn't bother the star so much. But I mean, Berger was still a pretty quick driver.
Right, race winner.
I agree, but the only team that were doing that as of recently was Ferrari, and perhaps Red Bull, while they held on to Webber, and both of them have stopped. So there's not any teams that are doing that anymore either. So it's it's really unfortunate, but it's just how it is. But also the big teams are just swapping drivers, aren't they? I mean, Vettel left Red Bull, and then obviously the young driver went in to go to Ferrari. When Alonso left Ferrari, went to McLaren. It's just a vicious cycle, isn't it?
It's just a revolving door, but only for the top 4 teams. That's kind of how it feels right now.
It is right
everybody.
now.
So I mean, it seems like Hulkenberg and Perez are kind of as high up on the grid as they can possibly get.
Exactly.
Lotus would be like a sideways move unless they, make a huge step and, they have a car that's like it was in 2013. If Lotus end up, moving back up to, where to the point where they're getting podiums and stuff, then maybe then. But I mean, even then, they need a pay driver, and Hulkenberg doesn't bring any cash, as far as I know.
No, I don't think he does.
No.
I don't think he brings any sponsorship or anything. I do believe both Hulkenberg and Perez have signed multi-year deals with Force India that extend beyond 2015, and it is my favorite driver pairing, possibly of all time. I really liked Perez and Kobayashi in 2012 at Sauber. I really liked that combination. So I mean, I would be perfectly, but I'm not so sure. I think Sergio is content where he is, at least for the short term. But he already went up to McLaren.
Hang on, I can't deal with this. You think that's the best driver pairing of all time? Really?
No,
of
my
all time?
favorite driver
Your
pairing.
personal favorite.
Yes,
okay, so you're F1 twin and the person you support.
Jesus
that makes sense.
Christ.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Oh my God. No, not the best. But my favorite, because they are my two. I even in. I remember like at the end of 2013 when Perez was without a drive for a little bit before being picked up by Force India. I was already mentally preparing myself to have Hulkenberg be my new favorite driver. So I mean, the fact that both of them ended up going to the same team, is pretty much the best scenario that could have happened for me personally. But yeah, I'm not so sure that Hulkenberg. I mean, I feel like Hulkenberg's going to get to a point in the not too distant future where he's going to be like, why am I scrounging around at the back of F1 where, he could go off to WEC and he could win championships and stuff like that. I mean, he has serious skill and as we mentioned, really not much vertical movement as far as F1 teams is concerned.
I feel like his Le Mans drive with Porsche, and I think his Spa drive as well with Porsche is effectively on audition for the rest of his career.
Yep.
Like you said, he's getting a bit frustrated in F1, and it's just like I said, there is no. It's not like you think, well, maybe that happened because nothing's really going to happen. There's, like I said, unless something really weird happens, nothing's going to happen.
Yep.
So, obviously it's an audition for WEC itself with Porsche, but also for, showing that he's not just an open wheel driver. He can drive sports cars too, which opens up loads more avenues, as well as, obviously he's already got like IndyCar and things like that. But, but the problem is F1 is still the most elite motorsport in the world. There isn't. WEC is not getting there because it's nowhere near it still, but it's growing quite fast.
It is growing fast.
But even so, F1 is still miles ahead of anything else in terms of like popularity around the world, at least. So it's I can't see. I don't know. It's a difficult one, but I think he was saying it'd be an F1 for another, say, 2 years, and then after that, if there's still nothing doing, and he's got a chance, he'd probably move to like a top WC team, perhaps like a Porsche or something like that.
Which is really unfortunate. It's really, really unfortunate how things have shaken out for
it's more because of the unknown. Like, I just want to know just how good he is, which nobody knows
I know.
yet. It's just so frustrating.
I know.
So frustrating. I just want to see him against one of the top drivers. Then I'm happy. Then he can leave and do what he wants. I just want to see how good he is. It's just so frustrating.
Although we did get a little bit of an answer last season as far as Perez versus Hulkenberg. A lot of people expected Hulkenberg to actually just absolutely destroy Perez, and that was not the case. Actually, he was not that much faster than Perez. I mean,
but we've also touched on earlier that this was probably Hulkenberg's worst season in quite some time because he lost motivation. So
yeah.
I'm hoping, and I think he will come back with a renewed motivation this year, and just basically one final push. Like, right, that's it. I'm just going to go for it this year, and then I can't do any more than that.
He needs to get a podium. He needs a podium. That's what he needs in 2015. I
think it would definitely help, but we already stated the issues of the big top teams. That won't change if he gets a podium.
Yeah.
Those that's the problem. Is the reason they won't sign him. It's nothing to do with him. Unless he literally looks like a full-on Hamilton, where they genuinely believe he's going to win multiple world championships, which that will help the podium thing, but it's still virtually impossible to prove that in a midfield team. So I don't know.
Yeah. It is a little unfortunate, but I have high hopes for the Force India car. They seem to understand their flaws last season with the whole wind thing that Miko brought up. I think they mentioned that even at the new livery launch. They mentioned that they had a car that was very heavily affected by wind and stuff. So they definitely seem to at least know their weaknesses, and hopefully they're gonna only improve. I mean, if they were even the same speed as in 2014, actually, I'd be pretty happy. They were up there battling with the big guys at times. Not Mercedes, obviously. No one was really battling with Mercedes. But they were up there at some races with against the bigger guys, even Williams and stuff like that. Generally, Williams were faster, but Force India were, at least fast enough to be a little bit annoying to some of the other teams at times, especially McLaren, who barely beat them in the Constructors' Championship. So if Force India can even just kind of maintain that same level that they were at in 2014, I think that's a good direction.
I think also you need a bit of luck, don't you, with F1? Unless you're, like I said, unless you're an absolute legend, like one of the greats, you just need a bit of luck. I mean, we'll move on to them in a minute or in a bit, but Bottas is a good example of, he signed for Williams when they were not a great team, back at the midfield, and now he's scoring podiums and stuff. And it's that's just luck, And now we'll get onto him in a bit, but obviously he's quite highly regarded. So it's just Hulkenberg just not had the rub of the green, is he? It's just been such a difficult career, even though he's shone as much as he possibly could, pretty much. He's had pole positions and stuff, and no podiums, but he's been close quite a few times, and
he was leading the race in Brazil in 2012.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just there's not a lot more he can do. He just needs that rubber luck, and he might get there.